Hi, and welcome to the Flourish and Health Podcast. My name is Stephanie Book, and I am so glad you are here. My hope is to help others see their life beyond where they currently are right now, move away from places where they feel stuck, and empower them to move into a flourishing life. Together, we will learn to recognize our true identity in Christ and apply a reframed mindset to combat the lies that we've been believing about ourselves. We will walk the journey of flourishing in our health, in mind, body, and our connection with God. I'm so excited to walk this journey with you as we create new habits of thinking and turn toward a life that is flourishing. Hey there, and welcome to the Flourish and Health Podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm so glad that you are here. Well, this month is going to be exciting because it's one of my favorite areas, talking about structure and routine and establishing healthy habits for our overall well-being. And so this week, if you didn't listen last week, please go back and listen just so you can have that foundation of understanding why structure is so important for you. And hopefully you've taken a little bit of time, if you listened last week, to establish why you want to create that routine, what's important to you, and what are the things that you want to make sure are part of your days so that you can establish the routines that work best for you. But this week, we're going to start with the evening routine. The evening routine is not typically the place most people think to start when they are establishing a routine for their life. But I have found that the more that we focus on what we're doing the night before we wake up, it makes getting up in the morning the next day ready for that morning routine. Now, this is definitely the area in my life that I am wanting to work on the most, because even though I'm saying that's the most important, it doesn't seem to be the one that I focus on the most. And so there are some things that I'd like to see change in my evening routine. So I'm hoping that as we do this together, I'll be able to establish some of those routines myself and make those a habit so that I can set myself up for a great start of a day by finishing off my day well. So this week, like I said, we're going to dive into looking at that evening routine and establishing things that will help us set ourselves up not just for ending the day well, but then setting it up for a great and productive day for the next day as we wake up. So as we go through our crazy busy lives and we look at all the things that we want to have structure in our days, this will actually prepare us for a stronger start, a better overall well-being. It will provide us with clarity for the other things that we want to do because we're so well established and are getting all the things that are important that we receive in our evening routine so that the rest of the next day will work well. I found this quote by Sidney J. Harris that says, "The time to relax is when you don't have time for it." Isn't that true? In Psalm 127:2, it says, "In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves." We want to make sure that we are establishing the right routines, the right schedule for our lives so that we can flow through it and not go haphazardly all over the place, but have those routines established so that we can have a calm and well-run evening routine that brings us into a healthy, happy routine. So, we look at those different evening routines and everybody is different. Everybody might have a different time that they're going to bed and a different wake up time. And so the times that you start these different things might be different than somebody else's, but the things that you're establishing in your evening routine would be good, right? So that, like I was trying to look at for a story or a way that we could talk about, a good routine of doing this and then doing that. But I think that these principles that we add into our lives, the things that we focus on each evening, will help bring us toward the schedules that we want for our lives. And so I thought I would just go over a few different tips of things that we could do to help us establish a good routine. But let's talk a little bit about the importance of that evening routine, and setting that tone for a restful evening and then that productive day. So the first thing, which seems crazy, but the first thing that will help us if we set an evening routine, is it gives us better sleep quality. A consistent routine it signals your body like, oh, it's time to wind down now. It's time to go to sleep. It's our minds, it's ready to start breaking down the day and thinking, okay, your mind, when you're in a routine, when you tell your body, when you go to bed about the same time every night, your body is already getting prepared. It's like, oh, this is bedtime, right? And that's why with our kids, right? It's so crazy in the summer because they're all over the place with those bedtimes a lot of the time. And then when we step into school, it's like, oh, the rhythm starts because it takes them a while sometimes to get back into that routine, but then it starts allowing their brains to start settling down like, okay, we're going to do these routines because it's going to slowly get us to the point where our bodies are ready for rest. The Dalai Lama says sleep is the best meditation, right? Like it helps us prepare for that. It gives our body that the way to just start preparing. In Psalm 4:8, it says, in peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. So that routine that gives you a better quality of sleep, it allows you to feel more rest, because your body has been prepared for what it's doing next, which is resting. When we have an evening routine, it can reduce our stress and even anxiety. A calming routine can help us ease our mind before bed. I mean, how many of you, like me, our minds are racing? And I'll catch myself. I would probably be someone I don't know if I call it a workaholic, but I definitely move most of the day. And so often I'll be sitting there and my husband and I usually might take a little time just to watch a little show on TV just for unwinding. I love to be able to laugh and just enjoy that time. It's not a lot of time, but we just both enjoy laughing. And so we will pick a show to watch. But lately I've noticed I've had the computer open and I am looking at that technology right until he's like, okay, it's time for bed. And he's real good at knowing what time he wants to go to bed. And I'm more like, oh, my brain is not settled. It's not, the stress and anxiety is not stopped because my brain has been filled doing things over and over again, though I wasn't necessarily filling it with bad things, but I wasn't giving my mind any time to wind down. So a calming routine can help us ease your mind before bed. I mean, how nice would it be if we've prepared our heart and our minds for sleeping? The less time we're going to be sitting there trying to solve all the world's problems, right? We're trying to lay down. Anne Lamott says, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Oh, let me read that again. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Wow. Oh, that just hit me hard. Unplugging is good for your soul. Just like we need to restart our phones sometimes, we need to restart us. We need to unplug for a little bit, put it aside, breathe, and live without that technology, without the things that are coming at us. Unplug, and then you can plug yourself back in. And how do you do that? By getting some good, restful sleep. Another thing that your routine can help you with when you're looking at that evening routine is really increasing your productivity. Preparing for the next day can help your focus and efficiency, right? If we're getting ready before we go to bed for the things that are happening in the morning, guess what? We're going to be calmer in the morning, right? So I know that especially when I was going to the gym, I don't have as much of a crazy schedule in the morning, but many of you will probably have a routine where you get up and you go right to work. You need to do all those different things in the morning. And so you want to have a routine. And, working out is important to me, making sure that I'm doing that exercise every day, not because I'm beating my body to get to a certain size, but because I want to be strong. I want to have my heart being healthy and I just enjoy it. And so, but a good way to do that is to make sure that my shoes and my socks and all my workout clothes, everything is ready and out for me, because guess what? If it's right there, I'm much more apt to put that on as soon as I wake up to get myself ready for the workout for the day. And it kind of triggers my mind too. So but I have it set out the night before, it helps my morning routine to go well. I love this quote by Walt Disney. It says, "The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing." And another reason is time for reflection. An evening routine allows you to reflect on your day. How often do we just finish the day and go right into the sleep and then back into the next morning. We haven't taken any time. But if we are stepping into a routine where we have certain things that we establish for the day, for the evening, it allows us to have that time of reflection. And one of the goals that I do have that I have not started at all is reflecting at the end of each day, writing down a few things that I'm grateful for, or maybe a statement about something that I did each day. Not long, it doesn't have to be long, but if I do that, how wonderful will it be to look back later and see what what I celebrated each day or what I accomplished in these different days. So that is something that I definitely am excited to implement. Socrates says the unexamined life is not worth living. Wow. So I would say he definitely recommends that you reflect on your life. And we've talked a little bit about reviewing and things like that. So that is definitely an area that I want to work on. But I know that when we take that time for an evening routine, it will give us that space to do all those things, give us better productivity, help us have a mindful look at the things that we've done for the day. It helps us step into sleep better. It gives us all those benefits. So I hope that just understanding the benefits of having an evening routine will help inspire you to want to create your own. Okay, so as we step into this, what are the key areas to focus on when we are establishing an evening routine? The first one, which I kind of even touched on a little bit just before, was a technology wind down. Whew. Set a time to unplug from the devices at least, an hour before bed. This will be difficult for me. Like I said, my husband and I like to watch a little bit of TV, but I usually have my computer open. So there's a lot of different things that I'm doing right before bed that is not causing my brain to slow down. It's not giving me space to release the day because I've got technology going at me right up to before I go to sleep. So what does that do for me? Well, it reduces the blue light exposure, which can interfere with our sleep, right? It will interfere with our mind, right? When you have all that technology, like I said, you're trying to go to bed and solve all the world's problems. Now, some of you can, you go into bed, like my husband, he goes into bed, we pray, he says goodnight, and he's sleeping. Like seconds later, I swear, it's like he says amen and he's sleeping. It's crazy how quick, but not all of us are like that. And so I know that if I'm stepping away from some technology and I'm creating some of these other things that we'll talk about, it's going to allow my heart and my mind to be ready to relax, to sleep, to be able to enter into that sleep in a better way. Number 2 would be create a relaxation ritual. Find activities like reading or meditating or maybe taking a bath, doing things that will help separate ourselves from that technology and from the craziness of the day and change it to ways that are more mindful, ways that are more calming, things that are not stimulating us so much. Now, I wouldn't say, some of us like to read, some of you might want to read some suspense book and stuff like that. That would not allow me to relax at all. But maybe finding some things that you can read that will encourage your heart and mind, ways that you can prepare yourself, reflect on the day and things like that. That signals your body that it's time to relax when you bring in those kinds of activities. So set a time for that relaxation ritual. What are the time, if we're not having technology an hour before we go to sleep, what are those things that you can fill up to start preparing your heart and your mind for sleep? The third one would be maybe plan the next day. Write down the key tasks or goals that you want to accomplish for the next day. When you wake up, it's so nice to have that plan, right? To have something set aside so you already know what you did that day. Maybe you reflected on what you've done for the day, and then you have, okay, these are the 2 or 3 most important things that you want to focus on the next day. They're written down. So then when you wake up, when you're ready and you've gone through your morning routine, you're ready to step into the things you've already planned for you. It's planned. It's in your day. It's set. And you don't have to worry about them, because I know I'll go to bed if I didn't write those things down and be like, oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. And my brain goes on and on and on, right? And so if you're writing down those key tasks or goals for the next day, it'll give you that clarity and reduce that morning anxiety. The next is gratitude. Oh, what a surprise, right? I'm talking about gratitude. Reflect on maybe 2 to 3 things you're grateful for the day. I talked a little bit about that before, like writing down, maybe something that you celebrated for the day. What are you thankful for the day? Maybe putting in something, writing down something that happened that day that you want to remember. Getting a little journal or something that you can write down those different things that you remember for the day, things that you did, maybe something your kids said that day, or something you celebrated at work, or maybe you hit a goal, or maybe you saw an eagle like I saw this morning in my walk, or maybe I don't know, whatever it is, what are those things you can be thankful for? Maybe how did the Lord provide for you that day? Who encouraged you that day? And what did you do to step out of your comfort zone? I don't care what it is, but as we take those couple minutes and reflect on the day, we're able and be in that gratitude, it sets us up. We can't be angry and be in gratitude at the same time. And so what a great way to cultivate that healthy mindset before we go to sleep. So these are some different things that you can practice in your day, things that you can bring in to allow yourself to prepare for that evening routine. Now, I'm not giving you specifics. You should do this, and then you should do that, and then this, because each of us have our own things that we want to establish before we go to sleep, So I want to make sure that maybe Matt and I still have that little bit of time to watch TV together because it's something we do together. So, but maybe we do that a little bit earlier, or do just one episode of The Funny Show instead of two, and then take that time and say, I think I want to take a few minutes. I want to write down what I'm grateful for, and maybe read a little bit before I go to bed, or maybe listen to an audiobook, or maybe just journal a little bit more. Find that time, that space to quiet our minds and prepare ourselves. So these are not specific, strict things that you need to do, but look at your evening, how it's flowing right now. And look at the things that maybe you could shift a little bit around. Are you taking the time to stop and step away from technology? Are you stepping into gratitude, looking at those things that you can be thankful for the day? Are you calming your mind? Are you doing some different activities? When's the last time you decided just to take a bath and just let things relax and sit? I know for me, I'm somebody that likes to be on the go, so it's hard for me to sit like in a bath. But maybe like reading, or maybe just finding some time just to disconnect and just spend some time in prayer. Do some different things that can set yourself up well for the next day. And the other thing I would say is I didn't really touch on, I kind of talked about here or there, is just maybe looking for those things you can set your morning up for success with. Maybe setting out your clothes for the next day. If you're going to work, then you would need to make sure figure out what you're wearing the next day. I know when I sing at church on Sunday, those are the days usually if I'm singing, I'm up early and out of the house for sure. So I want to make sure that I know what I'm wearing Sunday morning. So when I get up, I can get ready for the day and go to church. And the same thing happened when I was going to the gym. I would pack all my gym clothes. I would have my gym clothes ready to go to put on. And then I'd pack all my clothes that I needed for that next day, along with packing my backpack and all the things I needed for my work time that I did at Panera. So all of those things I set up for success by getting those done earlier in the evening. So then when I woke up, I didn't have those decisions to make. So that's a routine that I've established, and it makes a difference. I think there's so many different things we could talk about. And if you look at the things that are most important to you, how do you want to set yourself up for the next day? And those are the things I would establish in the evening. So everybody has different specifics that they want to do. But I think that if you implement some of these routines, look at that technology, look at, if you're creating that quiet space, you're stepping away from technology and you're filling it with what, right? Taking that time of gratitude, and then preparing for the day, setting yourself up with the 3 things that you want to accomplish the next day, and then setting the goals for creating that day, and then preparing for it. So I hope that today helped a little bit. I hope it gives you a better idea of an evening routine. And believe me, like I said, I am probably the first to say the evening routine is probably the most difficult one for me to establish. Now I have some of it, like I will pick out my clothes, my workout clothes, and I know a lot of times other things that I'm going to do for the next day, some of that's there, but there is a lot of things that I am not doing that I know would allow me to have a better sleep and just create a better rhythm, for the rest that I want to have in my body, so that I have that strong sleep, so that I can be prepared for the next day. So I encourage you, start small. Don't feel like you have to establish all the things. So if you're not doing any sort of evening routine, just pick one of these areas. Pick one area that you can work on, and if an hour is a lot for you to do, taking away from technology before you go to sleep, maybe, back it up 10 minutes. Give yourself 10 minutes before you go to bed without that technology. And then once you get that established, then maybe do 20. Like, don't put so much pressure on yourself. I think that's where we go wrong when we're establishing routines and habits, is we jump all in and we want to do all these things and do it perfectly. And then we have a day or two, we do great. And then something happens and it falls apart and we get out of routine and we're like, oh, forget it. It's too hard. No, 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 no. Just pick one little part of it and move into it. These are all just other ideas that you can create, because when you establish all these different routines in your life, you are going to have a better sleep and you're going to be set up for your next day. But please don't feel pressured to do it all. And it doesn't mean you're a failure if you're not doing them all. It's baby steps, those little tiny habits that we can create one on top of another so that we can establish what we want. So I hope that this week was helpful to you. I threw a ton at you this week, but I do hope that this will at least start preparing you for creating that evening routine, for helping set up your success for what you want for the next day by starting the night before. Please pass this on to anyone that you think would help. And, as I continue on sharing with this, I am still working on my self-care course, and I really am hoping to have it ready very soon, where we'll do this all together. We'll create these self-care habits that we can do, and having the evening routine is part of that. Establishing all these different areas that we're going to be talking about in the month will be perfect for leading into that self-care course, because it will allow you to work together to create those healthy habits for the life that you want to live full and flourishing. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week and sleep tight. Thank you so much for joining me as we walk towards this life of flourishing. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and would love, love, love for you to take a moment to subscribe to my podcast and maybe even leave a review. Likes and reviews like yours will allow my podcast to be seen by others and hopefully help them as they walk through their own journey of growth. So until next time, please remember that you are amazing, my friend, and you are meant to live a life full and flourishing. Take care.